All right, on this episode of One on One, I'm going to talk with Brien Pledger, Councilman for District 1. We're going to find out everything about Brien and what makes him tick, and also, he's a military man. It's all next on One on One. One on One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer.
Some of the times when we were in the Adriatic Sea and say in the Mediterranean or something like that, it was really, it was fearful. It was something to really step back. And probably my most notable time in the military was during Desert Storm, Desert Shield back in '91. I was on the USS John F. Kennedy. And during that time, we were going to war. Little old guy from Houma, Louisiana. What's going to happen? I'm not scared of anything. However, when I was given the helm of the USS John F. Kennedy, CV-67, I was on the mid-watch, it was called. And the mid-watch goes from 12 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I was at the helm when the first sorties, and sorties are planes that take off on the ship, went into Iraq. And it was a somber moment. The planes took off, 2 a.m., they lifted off of the ship. And it was normal operations for me. However, after about 2 minutes, you see the bombs, or you see the sky lights up in the distance on the horizon. That's when I thought, we're at war. And all I could think about at the time, Martin, and it's giving me chills right now, all I could think about at the time was, I'm a little guy from Mechanicville, Louisiana, and I'm at the helm of the USS John F. Kennedy, and we're at war. And I wanted to cry. However, being battle ready, I couldn't cry. I kept it all inside, and I pushed through. And it was one of the greatest things that I could ever experience. And that's why I say now, if I can endure that, if I can go through something like that, come out unscathed, because we have the greatest Navy, the greatest military on this side of heaven, I can do anything. And coming back to Terrebonne Parish and being able to lead and help Terrebonne Parish, there's nothing greater to me.
You led me to a point. My daddy collected insurance, and one of his routes was Mechanicville, East Street and all that area. And the mystique about Mechanicville, Senator Circle, growing up, made a lot of people scared. But as a young child, he would take me on his debit route. So I get to meet all the families. That was so blown out of proportion because you're one of the greatest examples. Former police chief, a great example. We got to change that, don't we?
We do. We do. And I encourage everybody within Terrebonne Parish, if you know someone that lives in the Mechanicville area, if you know of someone that lives in the Mechanicville area, or any area within Terrebonne Parish that might get not so good of a background or get a name that's not so pleasant, I guess you can say, what we should do in order to change the stigma here in this parish and within our various communities, we should reach out to those people and see for yourself. Because I can't tell you about a book if I've never read it. If you go into these various communities and you talk to some of these people, believe it or not, they're just like you and I. Their story is just read a little bit differently because you have Summerfield, great, affluent neighborhood. You have Sugarwood, you have Ellendale, you have Ordon Plantation. You have all these different neighborhoods. You have Village East, you have Bayou du Large, you have Ashland North, you have Mechanicville. Guess what? There's people in all these different areas, and they all have the same problems.
The exact same.
If we would do sort of research on let's use our chief of police, Mr. Travis Terrio. I'm willing to bet that in his combining all of the information between what happens in this area, what happens in that area, I'm willing to bet all of it's going to be the same, different times.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
In the past, it seemed the focus was on certain areas, which was unfair.
Exactly.
And it got more press. It's almost like the name became a mystique.
Correct.
And through time, through relationships, through energy to put it together, through having Chief Coleman come on board, we've changed a lot of that.
We have.
And I'm proud to say that it's changed quite a bit.
We have. We have changed a lot of that.
But you grew up with him. So y'all all doing things. There's no secret. Y'all fed off of each other.
We did. And we still feed off each other to this day. Because I'll give you another example of why it's so important to give back to the various communities, or to the community that gave you. In a sense, for me, I was planted, I grew in Mechanicville. I went out, traveled the world, lived in probably 10 different states for an extended period of time. I learned a lot. It created something within me, a culture, to where now that I can consider myself as being cultured, that now I take that and come back home. For instance, when me and my wife decided to give up chasing that dream, I guess you can say, we decided to move back to Mechanicville. Not only did we move back to Mechanicville, well, I asked her. I said, well, where are we going to move? She says, well, let's go back home. I said, home as in Mechanicville? She's like, yeah. I said, wow, what makes you want to go back to Mechanicville? Well, we had been gone for, so long that I had missed a lot of my parents. She had missed her parents or her father's golden years when they were getting older. And what better place? Mr. Russell Redmond gave me my first opportunity when I came back. I asked him, I said, Mr. Russell, you own the property next door to my mom and dad. I want to buy that house from you. It was an old house. I had goals or things that I was going to plan to do with it. But I wanted to cherish some of those memories with that old house because I remembered it. Told my wife, I said, I just asked Mr. Russell, we're going to buy that house. She's like, well, I didn't expect us to move there. I'm like, well, we're going to do something. We've lived in all these places. The houses that we've lived in, there's been something special you loved about every house. Not only that, there's been something you hated about every house. So now, of all the places we've lived, we're going to build your dream house right next to mom and dad. And she was flattered with that idea. So we tore the old house down next door. And we started building the new house. And it was just what she wanted. She wanted the kitchen for the family and all this other stuff since we had a big family. So that's the focal point of our home today. And right after we tore down the old house, some of the old cypress and stuff from the house that was there prior, I was sitting out on the patio and I looked at it and I said, you know what? We're going to take some of that old and we're going to put in this new. And I want you, as my wife, I told her, I said, you figure out where we're going to put it in there just to hold on to some of that nostalgia that we had in the old house. And remember, this is some of the same wood we walked on as kids. And we completed a brand new house in the heart of Mechanicville. You might ask, why would you do something like that? Well, it's to show that you can go and chase your dream, but always, always fertilize the ground that grew you. And I came back and I'm fertilizing that ground today.
When you planted that old cypress, did it look brand new?
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You would not believe how it looks. And it is, I gave a lot of it away to different people after they saw it. And it's just amazing what you can do with old and new once you tie them together.
You know what I'm hearing the more I talk to you? You got a big sentimental side to you, too. You're a big teddy bear at times, huh?
That's what my wife calls me. Now that the world knows that and you've shared it, my wife calls me, I'm her teddy bear.
It's all right that the world knows it.
Yeah, it's fine.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
I think most people go through life, hard sides, soft sides. You got to know when to use both, you know. So who'd you get that from? Your mom or your dad?
I would say I got that from my mom.
Okay.
I got that from my mom. She gives to everybody.
Yeah.
When I tell you she gives to everybody, it's unbelievable. She's, you know, close to 80 years old, and she's still going every day. And everything I see her do, and I must be honest. It's one-on-one, so I got to be honest about this. I get upset with my mother sometimes because she's almost too nice. And some people, you know, they'll use that to their advantage. But at the same time, if that's what God laid on her heart to do, He's going to take care of her. So I have to step back and go back to some of those adages that Mr. Mike Barker gave me. You know, there's different people, different things, different ways things are going to be done. But at the same time, you can't have, everybody's not going to be like you. So that's my mom. I love her. I'm going to take care of her. I track her all the time on my phone. So I know where she is.
She might be tracking you.
Probably so. Probably so.
Your whole life, huh?
Yes.
That's what moms do.
That's what she does.
And I'm not saying she's doing it by phone. She's doing it just in her heart.
Oh, she's always worried about, when I got into politics, she worried about me because she knew that I had that side of being the nicest guy. I'm big in stature, but at the same time, I'm soft as cotton, you know. But at the same time, she knew that I had my dad's structure and my dad's, you know, upright. I'm going to tell you what it is, and it's not to punish you. And like I said, I have no enemies to punish and no friends to reward, and I believe in that. You might not like what I say, but just hear what I have to say and understand.
But what I've learned about you is, me and you have had several discussions. If you say something, take it to the bank.
Absolutely. You can cash that check at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Because that's what it is.
And that doesn't always happen. So
Exactly.
I think that's what I admire about you.
Exactly.
You know?
It's all about being honest, being upfront. And it's not so much, a lot of people will take that as being a bully, okay? But it's not. You have to really, when something is said to someone or someone expresses themselves, you always have to put yourselves in their shoes first and try and understand, well, why did he or she say such a thing to me, you know? And try and understand what you really have going on and take your emotions out of it. However, that's really hard to do, and it takes discipline to be able to do that.
Right. Got about 4 minutes left. What sports did you play?
Well, I played baseball.
Yeah.
I was a baseball guy. I loved baseball. And the folks that remember, I know my buddies, Whitney and all those guys remember. It was Hark back then. And it was the Yankees against the Pels. I was on the Pels, the light blue, Mikey Linton and all those other guys. And all my buddies was on the other team, Whitney Callaway, Terrence Lagarde, all of them was on the other team. And I was the big guy on the Pels at the time. I hit 4 home runs in 1 game. The pitchers were Whitney Callaway, Robert Stewart, Scott Zepke, and I think Chad Franklin.
Big Scott Zepke.
Scott Zepke.
Yeah.
Scott Zepke. And that was probably the most notable time in my baseball career. And at that time, I thought I wanted to go to Nichols and play baseball.
Yeah.
But got to high school, played in high school, and after high school, I still had the passion, but I was an Atlanta Braves guy, Darryl Strawberry and all those guys, you know. And after that, I still watched the game, but I also played football too. And I never forget the worst time of my life playing football. Coach Andy Brill was the coach.
I saw him recently.
And he made me a tight end. No problem, because I was the big guy.
Yeah.
But of course, the tight end, it's always 10 and in.
Yeah.
The routes you have to run.
Or blocking.
You're blocking, exactly.
Yeah.
And Mr. Kenyatta Douglas, he was the quarterback.
Yeah.
And we were playing at John Curtis. Yeah. And John Curtis was bad then, just as well as they are now.
Yes.
But they were even
Badder.
Yeah. They were even worse back then.
Yeah.
That was the team, right? So Kenyatta called the 10 and in. Coach Bro, I'll never forget Coach Bro because he had a crooked pinky finger. Mm-hmm. And he said, Pledger, you run across and you better catch it. No problem, Coach. Coach Andy Bro was another inspiration because he was a military guy.
Yes, he was.
And I took instructions well. I knew I was going to get pummeled when I ran across the middle. I did it, just like he said. And I never forget the linebacker who hit me going across the middle. As soon as I brought the ball down, he hit me and he landed on top of me. He said, you wasn't supposed to catch that one. Try it again. And I tried it again. And the next time, it ended in a touchdown. Yes. But
Amen.
I was still scared to play John Curtis. I can't say that.
They were tough.
Yeah, they were.
As we close the show, first of all, I want to thank you.
Absolutely.
For coming on board. If I was able to get your family, your mom, your dad, your deacons, your ministers, your wife, your kids, Mike Barker, Scratch, you call him Scratch, right?
Scrapper.
Scrapper, okay.
Yes.
I'm going to call him that next
Yeah,
time
call
I see
him.
him. And I said, y'all all give me one word to describe Brien Pledger. What would you hope that word would be?
Straightforward.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
Yeah. That you are for sure.
Yes.
And I think that's the way you're going to continue to be.
Absolutely.
It's in your blood.
That's the only way to be.
Yeah.
That's the only way to be for me. Mm-hmm. For someone else, it might be different. But at the same time, God gave me a path to be straightforward. And that's why I'm walking my journey now that God laid out for me as being a leader, because He wants someone 10 toes down, shoulders back, chin up, straightforward.
Amen. And thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you.
And I respect you and I appreciate it. And I'm looking for good things from Brien Pledger.
Absolutely, Marty.
All right.
All righty.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.